have a heart. And then follow up on Smith with his audit report. I have scheduled a meeting with Gus Bell. For those who do not know who Gus Bell is, Gus was at one time our water and sewer engineer firm. Gus and I are going to meet Wednesday to discuss rate study for water and sewer. We haven't had a rate study done in about 4 or 5 years. So he's coming in with a consultant to sit down and look at some of our numbers and see what we may have to do on a rate study to make sure we don't get behind the 8 ball. Like I said,
I thought we were going to look at that every year.
We don't do a rate study every year now.
Well, I know, but you don't have to do a rate study. That costs money, but you can grow that to CPI and adjust it every year. Then you don't have to make that big 15% jump every 5 years.
I agree with you 100%, and if memory serves me correct, we talked about increasing water and sewer, but a lot of times y'all don't want to increase water and sewer.
I think the little increments, look at it relative to what other people are paying. I think we're either low or middle. Just my opinion.
Understand.
I'm just curious too, like Dr. Wallace, is there any way you can get some kind of roundabout figures from other municipalities? I mean, at this size?
Well, you can, but once again, you got to compare apples to apples. And when I say that is what kind of debt they've got versus what kind of debt we have. What kind of?
No, I don't think you ought to do that. I think you ought to add service to service. I mean, regardless of what our debt is, that's I don't care what our debt is. It's what our service is. Now we've got financial obligations we need to meet, and that might push us a little higher. But if we're delivering a service that's equal to people around us, what are they getting paid?
Do you want me to spend time with the rate study on Wednesday, or you think?
Oh, I think that, at this point, in 5 years, now we need a rate study, but I think going forward that if we hook that to CPI, we might not have to do a rate study, or if we did, then we wouldn't lose. If we went up to CPI, which was probably 2 or 3% a year, then we would be 15% ahead of where we are now over a 5-year period of time. 15% of $4 million, that's a lot of money. $600,000. And it's a little higher than that. That budget now is what, about $5 million?
Right at 4, wasn't it? Our last water and sewer budget.
4.6 sticks out in my mind. I don't remember.
I can't remember either offhand, but I can tell you real quick. I was looking at Smith, I figured he had that number in his head. Water and sewer, 3.9.
Well, still, we're looking at, $600,000 this year, or actually, or a little less than that. We would have made more this year in the past fiscal year than we did.
Well, we are starting on our budget, so we'll look at the CPI on a base rate, also on per 1,000 gallons for water and sewer.
And what I said actually is not exactly true, because we do adjust 56% of that annually, with Purdue. And that probably is 56% of our debt, but it probably is what, 60%, 65% of our use?
No, they're about 89, this past year, 89%.
89% of use.
Yeah.
So we probably wouldn't see a huge increase in our revenues by making that
But
adjustment.
then the commercial rate different than the residential rate per 1,000? It's not the same.
It's in-state.
In, out.
In and out.
It's
In
the
and out
only
of city
difference.
limits is different. You pay double your
2.5
sewage
times.
rates.
But commercial versus Carl's pays the same thing as you pay,
Yeah.
as far as per 1,000 gallons. Sticking with water and sewer, the water line project, which is through another CBDG grant over in Stewart Heights, is moving along at a snail's pace right now due to the weather that we've had in the last 2 or 3 weeks. But you know anything, Hardy?
They're just trying to beat this well.
Another project that we're working on, if you've been out on number 9 at Radford Boulevard, Commerce, you've seen Taco Bell's building. The traffic signals were being installed over the weekend and today.
They did it last night.
Pardon?
They did it last night.
And this morning, I sat at that light at 4:30 in the morning. I sat there, I thought, the only reason I didn't run it was because the policeman was right next to me. I was going down, going out to Purdue and,
They've moved those poles, and now the next step is it's got to be done some redoing of some markings in the road and putting in new loops in the road for the traffic signal. But that process is moving along pretty quickly now. And the last thing I have at this point is, I know Mr. Eller had seen it because he asked me about it over the latter part of the week, and I hope it doesn't pass. But in our house in Columbia, we have a representative who has proposed a bill in the House, which is H-3490, which pretty much is asking that the House and Senate pass or mandate that cities not charge more than $100 for business license per business. Right now, the cities follow a formula. It may be a different formula from each city to city, but there is a formula that is followed. We collect roughly $800,000 a year in business license. Speaking with Benny this afternoon, he gave me a number and I added to this number. We have about 1,300 business licenses that we issue a year. I said 1,500. At $100 a piece, do your math, that's $150,000. Where are we going to make up $650,000? The state's sure not going to give it to us. But there is discussions going on between Representative Quinn, who is out of Lexington, and the Municipal Association and the State Chamber to talk about business license. And there probably is going to be some concessions made. And I've talked to our house, 2 House members, George and Hayes, and both of them are against this bill because they know small communities,
well, we're going to get
they know it's going to eat us alive.
crippling us in every way to make money.
So if you know someone, either as a senator or a House member who doesn't represent Dillon, but represents another area, you might want to give them a call. Because not only us, I mean, you take the coast, Myrtle Beach, I think was quoted the other day in the newspaper, they collect $4 million, upwards to $4 or $5 million in business license. That's going to cut them. So it ain't all about the little guys, it's about the big ones too. But it goes back to, pardon?
H-3490.
H-3490. It goes
Wonder how
back.
Henry feels about it.
Pardon?
Henry, wonder how he feels about it.
I haven't talked to him. But this goes back to what is known as home rule. And we all know what home rule is. It's just what it says. If the legislators are going to rule us, you might as well let them determine everything and find the monies to do some things. But I will end that on a positive note. There is a bill in the House to talk about a local government fund. Over the years, that fund has been cut 20 to 30%. And local government fund is actually state monies that is collected by the state, who then turn around and give to cities and counties as a subsidy to help with mandated funding type deal. Before the recession of 2008, we were getting probably $250,000 a year. We now collect anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000. So it really wasn't a big hit to us. but they are looking to change some things, whereas it's going to be done on growth. So if the state's revenue grows each year, or the year coming up it grows, and whatever percentage it grows by from the previous year, the maximum they're going to add to that local government fund will be 5%. Now, if the state's revenues decrease from the previous year, we will not drop back no lower than where we are today. So there are some concessions being made there, and that we may get some increases in our local government fund. When we do our budget, we always budget on a low side of that. I think this past year we probably collected 10 or 15,000 more than what we anticipated. In our budget this year, we are ahead of the game in what we thought we were going to collect. But hopefully in the coming years they're going to increase that line item. But it won't replace business license fees if they cut that and say you only can charge a maximum of $100. We've got to come up with a way of funding additional $650,000 or cutting $650,000. And when you have a budget of $4 million in general fund, that's 25% of your budget, give or take. So that's just something to think about. That's all I have this time, Mayor.
The only other thing I thought you were going to bring up that you didn't, I don't want to spend time on it tonight, though, because it is a big item, is the water cutoff date.
Now, we're working on an ordinance to be brought at the next month's meeting.
All right. Let's see. John.
Well, one more thing I did. Playground, and Mayor, Dr. Walsh was asking about it. The actual playground equipment is in and completed. We're still waiting on them to come in to pour the rubber flooring. And this week, it seems like it's going to be a good week, but it looks like rain. And I think I mentioned before, the temperature has to be above 40 degrees for 3 days in a row. And this week will be the first time. I don't know if they're coming this week or not. With the rain, I don't know if they will. But as soon as that's done, we've got our fence in. We're going to put our fence up as soon as that is poured. And we're looking to put some heavy-duty planters out from a safety standpoint from the road. And hopefully by 1st of April, we'll be good to go. Yesterday would have been a perfect day for kids to enjoy. That was a pretty day.
Right, that'll be open on Sunday, is that right?
Yeah, it'll be open 7 days a week, for whatever time period the wellness center is open. Except on Sundays, it would open up at 8 o'clock. Someone would go out and unlock it at 8 since the wellness center doesn't open at 2.
Leave me a little spot for a couple of ellipticals.
Okay. I did look at the price of those. They're about $500 a piece.
How much was that playground?
25,000.
93,000.
98.
Yeah, that's a turnkey job.
That's right.
That's a turnkey job.
Yeah.
93,000, which we get to pay for because I won't pay until they finish everything.
Is that including the community parks?
No, that's just what we built because we haven't done anything there yet. Remember, we budgeted or requested 110,000, so we've got about 17,000 left.
How much did Park give us for that?
48, 49,000, which as soon as we pay the bill, and we won't pay the bill until they pour the play surface, we'll then send that to the state and we'll be reimbursed by June 1st, hopefully, to get our money back there.
Cost much as a medium-sized house.
Yeah, it's expensive.
That's a big size.
All right. Citizens report, anything anybody will bring to our attention? Yeah,
Let me share a personal experience that I had in working through a change in pension plans. And I'll be brief. We had a situation where the company wanted to go from Plan A to Plan B. Okay, and what they did is they determined our value of our pension as of a certain date. Then basically they cashed us out. We had the option of taking a check or we could roll it over to the new plan. Now, if a person takes a check, and if everybody took a check, then I know it could be a problem. But on the positive side, if somebody takes a check, that ends your liability for those people because they have decided that they want to stop the current plan And then they have to make a decision as to whether or not they want to participate in the new plan. But that ends that ongoing liability for those people. So,
For us.
yes,
Liability
yes,
for us.
yes, for the city, yes. So, that's the choice we had. And there are a lot of questions that have to be answered. A lot of discussion has to go into that, and I'm talking about industry versus government, and there may be a whole lot of different things that are involved in government plans and are in industrial plans. But it was just that simple. Just in a nutshell,
As a transition.
as a transition.
Yeah, it's not good for them to cash that out
No.
because they'll throw them away into a different tax bracket. Boy, they'd eat
Yeah.
that little.
But some people did.
Yeah.
And it goes back to ours is you either guys be 100% in the retirement system. We can't opt out. I can't opt out in Janet
He's
State.
just telling us about
Yeah.
a way to transition
Yeah.
from what we have to a 401k.
Okay, thank you, Will. Anybody else out here this time?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
City Council members, and citizens of Dillon County. I'm Kenny Smith, a resident of the city of Dillon. I'm here to speak on the peddler increased license. If I'm correct, it was introduced in the council last meeting that some, if not all, of the peddler license would be increased for their licenses, to which those farmers with 1 acre or less to sell their goods, and some of their peddlers that sell seasonal goods their fees wouldn't be increased. And I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm incorrect, that this was brought about due to the, like I said, the business owners that's in the brick and mortar business building that are not getting the majority of the business in which items or merchandise that some of the peddlers are selling. The dictionary defines a peddler as one who offer merchandise and sell up along the streets from door to door, one who travels about selling their wares for a living, or a person who goes from place to place selling small goods. Well, I'm one of those peddlers. I'm that t-shirt guy that was talked about, was spoken of at the last city council meeting, that sell t-shirt, which I do have a proper peddler's license, of course. And as a retired service member and a retired city civilian contractor, I may not choose to want to open a brick and mortar from 10 to 6 or from 9 to 7. That would require me to be open 5 to 6 days a week, paying light bills, paying water bills, renting space fee, and anything else that is associated with being an owner or leasing a brick and mortar building. It does not seem practical to me to increase one group of peddlers' license and not the other group. If there need to be an increase, then let that increase be across the board for all peddlers, regardless of whether they are selling fruit and vegetables, Valentine's Day basket, Easter basket, baseball caps or license plates, or Mother's Day basket, or operating a free phone booth. Business owners with the brick and mortar business, and nothing wrong with the brick and mortar business, but they choose to have those brick and mortar businesses. Business owner with only peddler license choose to only have peddler license. I think penalizing some of these with only peddler license is a grave injustice. I ask that you rethink this proposal, and if need be, increase all peddler license, or increase none of the peddler license, or don't have peddlers at all. Again, I thank you for your time. That's what I have, sir.
Thank you, Ken.
All right, thanks.
For second reading.
That is up next, sir.
The thing with the farmers and the 1 acre we talked about the last time, is that some kind of thing the city's done to help the farmer with 1 acre or less?
Pretty much, because that's not included yet. Now, that's left up to y'all whether you want to add them in or not. Totally up to you.
Man, I don't know, how many do we have? Just curious. Very few?
As we have peddlers. license. I don't know that you have a lot of peddler licenses.
Probably about
15, 18.
You don't, you got a couple that come into the county that goes full time for coming out. I mean, on big ticket items and for businesses that do sell those products. And that's what we're trying to protect, because they're paying the business license and the taxes and the property taxes and everything. And if you can't control that, then they might as well close up shop and go somewhere else that's going to support, commerce in their city. But I knew, here's the other side, and I always knew that was it. Weren't, I don't know where that median ground is from that, and somebody selling something 2 or 3 times a year during a holiday, but I get it.
Well, I think if Mr. Smith's happy, I don't know why we don't increase all of them, I mean, I don't know how you differentiate it. Most of those people who sell fruit and vegetables, they go on the other side of the city limits and sell it, probably most of their money's made on Highway 9, just go outside the city limits and do it.
Well, that's what's happening. I know with one vendor, they go right outside the city limits. And they just set up right there, and then they come inside, and there's nothing we do about that. But,
If Benny, if he just explained to me something about the farmers, it's something to do with state exemption, you want?
The South Carolina Department of Revenue exempts farmers that grow their own produce from any type of licensing. And we kind of follow that same procedure in our business license ordinance.
We have to.
Yes, sir. We don't charge farmers that.
Did you hear that, Mr. Smith? That's why we had to make that.
Yes, sir.
That's why we had to make that adjustment.
But is he only talking about farmers
Yeah.
on that aspect?
That's right. All other peddlers have to pay a license, and it's going to be the same fee, irregardless if someone is selling T-shirts or furniture or shoes or jewelry or, as you define peddler, anyone that is selling retail merchandise on a temporary basis beside the roads, whether it's door for door, or all peddlers will be charged the exact same fee with the produce. The farmers that has a garden 1 acre or less, they're the only one that is exempt from the peddler's fee.
And that's due because of the state exemption?
That's correct, because state exempt this regional market.
what was our old peddler's license fee?
Yes, sir. In the city limits was $170, $225 in the county, and $340 outside of the county.
So it's 500 now.
Yes, sir, irregardless.
Doesn't matter where you're from.
I know this is kind of stupid. How do we know that a farmer has got 1 acre or less when he's selling his produce in our city?
Mostly all of the farmers, the produce, like I said, there's probably about 2 that I know of in the city of Dillon that do that from their truck, and they are here locally. We don't have outsiders that come from Florence and try to sell their produce and say they have less than 1 acre. I never encountered that.
So I don't know how, that's not one of those things that can make, you have a perfect scenario. I mean, I'd like to be able to help the vendors in our town, but, more so than the vendors coming from out of town.
How did we come up with a flat rate of 500?
I think that's something that
We just threw out a number and then brought it to council last night.
I would,
Yeah, well, he just told us it was prorated according to if you were a city resident. I would like,
county.
personally, I'd like to see if we could do it, maybe increase each one of them, but still stay with the city resident, maybe go up to $225 or something, and then go up to a max of 500 if you're out of the county.
just table that for another.
Well, we can table it, but if you want to change something, let's decide how we want to change it so we can bring it back. Instead of going back through this again next week.
What was our rates again, Benny?
The city was 170, county's 255, had. Out of county was 340.
This is the thing I got a problem with, and I know where the mayor's going. Somebody comes in here and got 20 recliners in. They pay the $500, they sell one recliner, they get their money back. You take somebody like Mr. Smith who sells a $15 shirt, it's gonna take me a shirt to sell. I see where we're going with this, and I think it's a good thing that what Councilman Jackson said, that we need to look at maybe more in depth, see if we can't find a happy medium to help the citizens out here.
This would only take effect come July 1st, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we do have time.
Well, you got time, let's see, it's March now. You send them out in May, right? April, so, I mean, it's something we need to, yeah. You know, and this, if you want to keep a 3-tier,
Is there any need to keep 3-tier? We really just need inside the city and
and outside the city, we can do that. All right, so
So
you want to,
200 inside and 500 outside the city.
I think that maybe problems still there, but I think there'll be less of them. You know, we can always come back and amend it at a later date, but I would agree with that.
so we don't need a vote, we just,
Make that adjustment. You gotta
yeah,
bring it back.
$200 in city, 500 out of city is what we'll bring back for, but you need a motion to table.
I make a motion.
Second.
All right, wait a second. We can amend it.
Yeah,
We can amend it now.
I make the motion to amend it.
I'm gonna amend it to $200 in the city,
500.
500 outside the city.
I
Okay.
second.
All in favor? Opposed? And that's for peddlers coming from outside
That's
the
correct.
city.
That's correct. That's amending the ordinance. Now, did we vote on the ordinance again, or was that?
That's amended.
Make the motion, we vote on the ordinance as amended.
I second.
All in favor?
I
Opposed?
think you need a clarification there, Todd, because you said a peddler coming from outside the city, but if it's a city resident, it's a peddler,
It would be a $200.
then it would be a
license.
$200 license fee. If it's a peddler coming from outside of the, that's not a resident of the city, then it would be a $500.
That's correct.
With the same agricultural
Yeah,
exemption.
anything else that's.
With the same agricultural.
Yeah, that's what it said. Yeah. So, and to make sure we're all on the same page, if you're in the city, you're gonna pay 200 as a peddler. If you live outside the city, whether it's Dillon County, Marlboro, North Carolina, you're gonna pay $500.
Right.
So we'd have 2 tiers.
Okay.
And we voted on that, correct?
New business resolution 115, approving tax advantage fund and compliance policies and procedures.
This is just a follow-up that, what was his name? Ben Ziegler, after we did our bond. Yeah.
I make a motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Y'all look in your packet on resolution 215, you're adopting the side incentive grant program, I think up to $3,000 per year.
2 grants.
All we would do would be 2 grants. Right now is, how much, 1,500?
Right now, it's 500.
No, I mean, a total amount of money, what we have, 2,500, what?
2,500.
But the maximum per grant was
$500.
$500.
And there, we looking
This comes
at,
about the next budget year.
yes,
I
yes.
already have an application on my desk.
So this would be a maximum of $1,500 per grant for a total of 2.
No more than 2 grants, $3,000 is what we would budget.
Make a motion.
All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. And Councilmember